Hello everyone, this is Flammy, and we are back with an interview with Jorge Yao. We are here with part 7 of my interview series with Jorge. We've been doing these over the last few months, where we've talked about various strategies and other shenanigans, so if you missed out on the other ones, you should go check them out. For example, the most commonly asked question is in number 1, where we talk everything about gems and money in Clash of Clans. We also talked about a lot of strategy stuff, such as in part 2, and answering questions and stuff that you guys have submitted in part 4. There's 6 of them, and you can see what they're all about if you go read the descriptions of this video, as well as go read their titles in their playlist. So I do have a playlist dedicated to Jorge. So Jorge, we are back once again with another interview. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing, Flammy?
I'm doing really good. So just recently, in this last week, we had the April update, which had some new stuff. So this was the League update, which had a new Dark Elixir unit and some other changes.
Yes, very exciting update and a lot of changes.
Yeah, and from the sound of things, it looks like it's going to change a lot about the high-level strategy and tactics. Is that right?
Yeah, basically changed the entire way that I attack now.
Wow, and not just you, but other players as well, I imagine the sort of optimal strategies changed?
Yeah, a lot of I can guess that a lot of clans scrambled right when the update came out to figure out what the best strategy was.
All right, so we're going to talk about that in full detail, but this video is going to cover the update in all of its aspects. So we've got the League system, we've got the new Dark Elixir unit, the Golem. We have various changes to buildings, such as the new air defense, as well as the Teslas and a new air mine. And we have some clan changes, as well as a couple smaller things which we might or might not get around to. So let's start at the top with the League system. So the League system creates a new sort of ranking category system for all players, from lowest new players who start at 400 trophies all the way up to the top. So what league are you in, Jorge?
The Champion League.
And that is 3,200 trophies above?
3,200 trophies and above.
Nice. So that's actually pretty exclusive. So I noticed that all of the top 200 are currently in that. But so that means probably there's less than 300 or so players in it. You think that's about right?
Yeah, it might be a little bit more, give or take, but yeah, ballpark.
Only top 300 in that, which is pretty interesting right there. I guess you might be able to tell by just looking at your own league. So what it does do is takes the emphasis off global leaderboards for all of us normal players. I guess not so much as you. But for us, it takes the emphasis off our global rank and changes it to be a league rank. So it puts you with 100 other players, or I guess 99 other players, who are in your current league bracket, and you can sort of compete against them and try to pass them to get number 1 in your league, as well as progress into the next league. So you are currently number 1 player still. We've had some shenanigans lately where you lost it briefly, especially for one particular day where I believe it traded back and forth a lot. But have you been in the number 1 lead for a while once again?
Yes, I have. Since that one day, I've been holding on to the lead.
And nice. That one day, that was when you finally someone caught up, and then you once again rocketed ahead. Have you you've maintained it for a while now? What trophy count are you at?
I'm currently at 4163, I believe.
All right, so right above 4,100. So nearly 1,000 above the minimum required to get into the Champions League, and in the lead by a solid chunk from when I last checked.
Yeah.
All right, so the league system does introduce 2 things. So the loot system is somewhat interesting in that it gives you free loot whenever you 1-star someone. And this loot doesn't come from the players themselves, but Supercell awards it from their own generous pockets to anyone who gets a 1-star. So what do you think about this sort of change in rewarding players for their wins?
I think it's cool. I think it's a step in the right direction. The amounts could be adjusted a little bit from my perspective. The amounts that are given to the top level players are great, but not so much noticeable. But since we don't really focus on resources as much as we do trophies, but I think for the lower level players, I think the bonus is an extra. It's an added bonus.
Interesting indeed. So I agree for sure. I think that the loots are a little low. So both of my accounts are currently around 1,200, 1,300 trophies, which puts them at the top of the Silver League. So I know on one of my accounts, my lower level account, which is just getting up to Town Hall 8. I started the upgrade today. The loots are 3,500 elixir and 3,500 gold whenever I get at least a 1-star victory. And that doesn't increase if I get more than 1 star, and that's not very much. For example, my video which will be coming out very soon, where I attack and just to get my first league win to place me in a league, I steal over 200,000 gold, and then it awards me a grand total of 7,000 extra resources. That balance is a little off right there for me.
Right. I think that a unique, I guess, change would be maybe making it proportionate to how much you actually steal in the battle. So that'd be kind of interesting to have it actually based off of like a ratio of, or a percentage of how much you actually steal for that battle.
That's an interesting idea. Perhaps like have a minimum attached or something.
Right. And then just base it off a percentage. So, more incentive to steal more resources.
I think that would also, though, encourage people to go down in the trophy so they can get better loots or find the optimal trophy position to get lots of loots. So I'm not sure that I think that would be the best idea, but perhaps if it was like, if you're in the bottom like a lot, you'll only get like 1% bonus, and if you get a little higher, you're like 4% bonus, and you get a little higher, maybe up to 10% bonus if you're at the top. I don't know. But, yeah, interesting. Perhaps they could do some little changes. I think the static change might be better, but either way, if it increases, it would probably have a bit bigger significance in the game. But it definitely is something for players to target for when they get to higher trophies. Now, you mentioned briefly that this doesn't really change that much for you. Can you expand on that?
So the resources that you get per battle, we don't really focus on the elixir storages or the gold storages or dark elixir storages. We're just looking for the amount of trophies that are available per battle. So when we're attacking a base, it's beneficial to get the resource that you want to get, but it's more important to actually get the trophies. So we don't really pay attention to the resources as much.
And in terms of the bonus itself, does it provide a significant boost? I'd expect it's sort of on the low end for you as well, like you sort of mentioned.
It's actually a pretty significant boost. I'm not going to lie. It's 100,000 of elixir, 100,000 of gold, and I believe, I forget how much it was for dark elixir. I can just check it 1 second.
600, 800.
600. Yeah, okay. 600 is the amount for dark elixir. So it's a pretty significant amount. I think on average, what I've seen on most battles, if I were to take out all the elixir storages and gold storages, I think you roughly get around 200 to 300,000 of each resource. So, and then I think 2,000 is the cap for dark elixir. So it's a sizable chunk. It's almost reaching 50%, between 40 and 50% of what you would normally take. So
2,000 is the cap indeed for dark elixir. However, it is important to note that there is a boost awarded if you are attacking someone who is a higher town hall level than you. Obviously not very relevant for your situation, but for the rest of us. But yes, 2,000 is capped without the boost, or when you're attacking someone with your own town hall level.
Right.
Now, that gold that you're stealing, that seems pretty significant. Does that mean you generally aren't spending tons and tons of gems on resources to buy your units? You're mostly spending gems to speed up your units building?
Both, actually. I mean, we fill up our elixir storages, generally speaking, with gems, just so that we can attack quicker. So it's anything to really just attack quicker. So speeding up the units, filling up the elixir storages. Gold, not as much. We use it more so for like walls and things, but other than that, it's not really used. It's used for spells too, but spells are relatively cheaper than gemming the actual units for the army camp. So
indeed, and spells, I believe they both became at least quicker. Did they also become cheaper in this last update?
Yeah, so making them quicker to produce will inherently decrease the amount of gems it takes for them to speed up. So they did decrease a little bit.
One benefit right there. Now, one thing that I noticed, which is sort of interesting, was the league system and the way its sort of divisions work out is very related to the way StarCraft 2, another video game on its own computer, does their league systems as well. So they as well have they call it a Grandmasters League, where they have the top 200 players in the world that are ranked. But then for everyone below Grandmasters, in the Masters League and below, there's a bracket of 100 players, and they sort of sort you into that with your other players. So this is sort of replacing sort of a global leaderboards rank like we were talking about before. I thought it was sort of interesting they base it off that system, and I think it allows a good way is that you can sort of compete against other players. So you can look at your trophy bracket and be like, oh, this person is 17 trophies higher than me. If I pass them, I'll become number 1 in my league. Then if I get another 30 after that, then I can advance to the next league above that, which is a pretty cool way to look at it, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's a different angle for sure to look at the leaderboard. So, and it's definitely a motivator for a lot of people to want to, pass the person right above you. And the beauty is it resets every 2 weeks, and you have a completely new randomized list or of people in your league. So you constantly have new competition, new goals to set every 2 weeks or so. So,
and of course, that's a good point to point out that it resets every 2 weeks, and of course it also will update when someone progresses out either high or low into the next league. That's either one above or one below.
Right.
Now, moving on to some strategy stuff. So, the Golem, the new Dark Elixir unit. Let's talk about that for a minute. So, this guy, what did you call him before? A punching bag?
Yeah, he's straight up punching bag. He very, very low damage, virtually none. It's negligible. But just a straight-up punching bag will take hits and hits and hits and hits.
And yeah, I'm not really surprised by this because it is, if you look at its stats at all, it does nearly no damage. Its damage is completely negligible. If you look at its health, oh my god, it does a ton. There's no other way to put it. It is such a beast.
It is
at level
awesome.
1, it takes 450 Dark Elixir and has 4,500 hit points. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then does 38 damage. Of course, it does have a 30 housing supply cost and 45 minutes to train with a movement speed of 12.
Right.
Ground only, single target, and favorite target is defenses. So, how do you use this unit, Jorge?
It's very similar to Giants, I would say, but just beefed up. I like to call them the dark version of Giants because they, like Giants, attack defense unit buildings. So, and I believe their movement speed is the exact same. I think it's 12.
Indeed, they are. Both are 12.
Right. The only difference is clearly the housing space. It's 6 Giants, equivalent to 1 Golem. However, the Golem, it's interesting because it's not really affected by splash damage or anything like that. The Giants, you have 6 Giants, and you can do splash damage to all 6 if they're grouped together. So that's an interesting thing to.
And in terms of the 6 Giants, they are pretty equal in terms of health when you compare them to 6 Giants. But the splash damage is going to be the huge factor there because 1 Mortar attacking 1 Golem is only going to do like 10 or 12 damage, whatever its maximum is. But if it attacks 6 Giants at the same time, that's 6 times whatever its maximum damage is. So clearly a pretty big difference there.
Right. Very, very clear difference.
Now, in terms of strategy and stuff, you said you're using golems now, so let's talk about some other strategy stuff that's tied into that. So we've got a couple new things. We've got a new air defense, which came out just after the update in sort of a hot fix. That we have a new level Tesla, which came out in the update, and we have a new air mine, which also came out in the update. So all these things seem to be boosting up defenses, but how do they change what you attack with?
Yeah, so there's actually another building that wasn't mentioned is the Wizard Tower, the new Wizard Tower that's out too, as well. The fourth one, I believe.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, it's not the air defense. I would say is the most significant for my own gameplay because I was strictly a Dragon player for a long time. I actually started as P.E.K.K.A. I think I mentioned that previously, but since I can remember, I've been playing with Drags, so this has been a significant change. I was actually expecting the fourth air defense to be included as part of the actual update, but I wasn't surprised when they rolled out the hotfix, a day or a couple days afterwards. So that was the biggest change. I'm no longer using drags anymore, and if you look at my army camps, they're filled with a combination of P.E.K.K.A.s, wizards, golems, wall breakers. So I'm using ground units now.
Very nice. So that is definitely a big change for you in terms of strategy and tactics and how you're attacking. How many other of the top players are switching over to either use Golem specifically or go back to just a very P.E.K.K.A. heavy or some combination thereof, just switching off dragons? We had talked before about how dragons were pretty much the go-to unit for everyone at the top, and that was right before the update came out. So has that switched?
Yeah, it has switched. So if you look at top player accounts now and their bases, A lot have switched to back to P.E.K.K.A attacks. Now, previously, those players may have already been P.E.K.K.A players and just switched to drags because they may have been easier and cheaper to use. But so for those players, it might actually be an easier switch or adjustment for them to switch back to P.E.K.K.As. But if you're generally speaking a dragon player for most of the game, then it's a huge adjustment for you, and you can expect a lot of hurdles to overcome.
And we did talk about how you used to be a P.E.K.K.A player, and that was months ago, correct?
Correct. That was probably many months ago.
So probably at least December, which is when we first talked. So it would have been before that when you had switched over. So yeah, a while.
Yeah, a while.
So you said that the new air defense level is the most significant change in terms of motivating you to change over. As well as, the air mine certainly doesn't help the dragons in their fight to attack. Tesla's, however, their new Tesla level 7 does do its bonus damage against P.E.K.K.As, so that is interesting to hear. Do you think that that's very significant, however, in compensating?
Not in terms of what I've seen in attacking bases, just practicing around. So it hasn't been really noticeable. I think if you use a correct strategy, I don't think you notice it as much as if you're just new to using P.E.K.K.As and you're just going in. The golem is a huge advantage because it basically takes on the damage while your other units are able to skate through unharmed and do most of the hit point damage to the buildings while the golems are basically punching bags.
So I think I noticed earlier that you only had 2 P.E.K.K.As in your army, with I think it was 4 golems.
You mean 2 golems and 4 P.E.K.K.As?
It might have been that way. I might have swapped.
Yeah.
But that seems like only 4 P.E.K.K.As attacking, if that's the case. It seems relatively few. That seems like a lot of sort of distraction. That's like 60 supply dedicated just to soaking up damage.
Right.
Down from whatever the maximum number of P.E.K.K.As is, which is a pretty big change.
Yeah, huge change, but actually a huge advantage because the golems actually split into 2 mini golems when they die. So you actually have a little bit of extra life on both golems when they die. So that which draw on more fire while your P.E.K.K.As and wizards and your king and queen do the majority of the damage.
That's a good point, and it's probably their most unique factor in terms of actual gameplay. The fact that they split into 2 smaller ones on death. Do you know if the health for the smaller ones is accounted for in their health that's seen in the Dark Barracks?
Yeah, I think their health. I believe that when they split, I think a quarter health of what they used to be. I could be wrong. I think they're like 1250 or.
But that health is like sort of bonus health that's not accounted for in the Dark Barracks, because the Dark Barracks, that's only the first primary units for health.
Right. So off the top of my head, I don't remember what the actual mini golems would be, but it's not accounted for in the actual Dark Barracks. That's straight up the 1 golem.
Straight up bonus health. Awesome. That's really neat to see. I obviously don't quite have golems yet. I don't even have Valkyries unlocked because I don't really spend gems, and I have a good time just attacking bases and getting resources and playing the game, playing the resource game and the low trophy game. So thank you for that information right there.
Yeah, no problem.
For the clan castles, we had a couple changes in there as well, sort of switching notes. We had the clan castle itself, which did get a new level, so you have more units in there. We had a clan message for clan leaders. And, of course, the leagues now have a 2-week reset, which I think is going to contribute to the donations resetting as well. So some changes right there. What do you think about all these sort of clan castle clan changes?
I think the new clan message for the leader helps the leader out with organizing the clan and also spreading a message. Previously when you're in a clan, your message inbox is essentially useless. It doesn't really serve any purpose unless you're not in a clan. But now that it has a purpose and you have a message from your leader, you pay attention to it and you go to it. So it's a good way of to give more power to the leader.
And it's a good way for players, like for my own leaders in our lower level clans, when we don't have the perfect coordination that you guys will have. So if we have someone who's accidentally donating wall breakers repeatedly, we can say, hey, by the way, everyone, don't donate wall breakers. Just stuff like that. It's a great way to communicate, which otherwise it's up to the clan leaders to try to track down the person in clan chat, if they ever talk in clan chat. Now you can send a message to everyone just to do a friendly reminder and keep them heads up. But previously, you would have to kick them in order to send them a message, because you'd be able to type in a message when you kick them out of the clan. So I think this is a good change for that as well. Any sort of additional features for managing clans, I certainly support.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the league system it goes hand in hand too. Just simply having the badge appear when you make your first attack, I think it's cool. So the clan leader can see whether or not someone's active within a 2-week span. Although that is still long, a wide range. 2 weeks is a long time, and you only have to attack once. But it's still a cool feature to be able to know who's active and who's not.
Indeed. So I have not attacked on one of my accounts, so I'm still unranked. So people can see it in my clan. You can also see that on the leaderboards as well. In terms of the 2-week donations, how do you think that's going to work out in terms of resetting? Do you think that does it matter for high-level clans, or do you guys hop in and out of clans often enough that no one really counts your donations anyways?
It does affect it, actually. One of the biggest changes is you can actually see other clans' donation counts, so that's kind of cool with the update. Previously, you wouldn't be able to see other clans' donation counts.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah, so you can go to North 44 and see, who's donating, who's not.
Jorge, you've only done 90 donations so far this week.
Right. I've been slacking on the donations.
Meanwhile, let's see your top ones. I see a 700. Ooh, a 1,500 donations. There's your top one for now. Yeah, you have 1,000 and you have 1,500. So, but it still resets if you leave the clan and rejoin, right?
Right, it still resets. So it's probably 90 as for the last day, probably.
Nice. So that's interesting right there. Thank you for that piece of information as well. All right. So I think that's going to wrap it up in terms of the new update stuff. So is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of new update, other changes, recent things?
No, I think the update was great. I think the new additions are certainly interesting to play around with. It does definitely spice up the game a lot for the high level players who are previously, especially using drags previously and now having to switch. And I'm excited to see what else they bring to the table for Dark Troops in the future.
Indeed. I definitely agree with the direction they're going with these Dark Troops. Not only getting more powerful as they unlock more ones, which I expect to continue, but just generally adding more flavor to the game, especially these attacking units, just giving you more options is obviously something I approve of. So that was pretty awesome. Do you have any shout-outs or anything you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
No, just shout out to North 44 as always, and thanks for the support and all the new elders that came from loyalty and progressed through the ranks, and congratulations, you guys.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much once again for taking the chance to talk with me and sharing your thoughts with both me and to the internet in general. Definitely appreciate the insight into the top-level play, and it's certainly very interesting, and teaching myself little things I've missed out on in the new update, as well as some peeks to like high-level strategy, which there's no opportunity for me to figure out anywhere else. So if you guys have any comments for Jorge, you can perhaps leave them in the comments section, and we will both try to answer them in the comments section of this video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something as well. And beyond that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.